Alright, the iPhone 15 Plus is here and I believe that it is the most exciting and value iPhone of the year, and I have three reasons to believe that. Number one, the Pro models are super expensive. Now this right here, it's not exactly cheap, but it's still more reasonably priced than the Pro models. Two, it has got some interesting upgrades. On the front now we have the dynamic island, there's Type-C USB charging port and a new camera system as well. Three, and let's just be honest, for most users, this is enough. Now I'm sure you would still have a lot of questions in your mind and I'll try and answer them during this review. So before we move ahead, subscribe to Fiber by India today. Also press that bell icon so that you don't miss out on any notifications from our side. So I want to start by talking about something which I believe is the most significant improvement on the iPhone 15 Plus when I compare it to the iPhone 14 Plus, and that's in terms of the performance. Now this one right here has been equipped with an A16 Bionic chip, which was also available on last year's Pro models, and I think it has resulted in some significant performance gains on the iPhone 15 Plus. Now I know a lot of people would have ideally wanted Apple to use the A17 Bionic Pro chip on this phone, but I think even the A16 is more than enough for most users. First, let's have a look at the benchmarks. Now on the Antutu, it scored almost 1.3 million, which is better than most flagship Android phones like OnePlus 11 and the Samsung Galaxy S23 Plus. Even on Geekbench 6, this scored better than the iPhone 14 Pro and Pro Max in single core, and the multi-core scores were almost at par. In the 3D Mark Wildlife test, which is an extreme gaming test, the phone performs impressively with a stability score of 76.8% and average loop score of 3083. Now while these are just numbers, and I always say that benchmarks are never a reflection of the real world performance, these numbers also tell us that this phone is a huge improvement in terms of performance over the iPhone 14 Plus. It handles everyday tasks like watching YouTube videos, browsing the internet, replying to texts, etc. with ease. And beyond that, I played a bunch of games like Asphalt 9, Call of Duty Mobile, and all of them run very well thanks to the A16 Bionic chip. The downside, however, is the 60Hz refresh rate, which somehow feels like stopping this phone from reaching its full potential. The other thing is that the phone can get warm at times, especially while using the camera app or when I was running the benchmarks, but apart from that, it ran quite well. The thermals are intact. So for performance, I'll give this a solid 9 out of 10. The other significant upgrade on this phone is the camera. Now it has got a new 48 megapixel main shooter along with a 12 megapixel ultra wide angle camera, and the front has another 12 megapixel selfie shooter. Now what Apple has done is that it's saying that you can actually click 2x shots using the same main sensor. Even though it's not optical zoom as Apple talked about it, it's still digital zoom, but it works really well. I'll talk about it later in the review. Also, there's an option to click pictures in 24 megapixels, so high-res images are here. The front and rear both record 4K videos in 60 FPS while you're still getting the cinematic mode video recording option as well. Now I shot a bunch of videos using this phone and I can totally understand why it's the first choice for all the content creators, vloggers, because the video quality is really good. So let me show you the video samples right on top. Alright, so give you a good idea about how good this phone is when it comes to video recording. What I'll do is, I'm right now here in this shade. What I'll do is I'll quickly walk towards this side, go under the sunlight, and you can see how swiftly and smoothly this has shifted the color temperature, and this is what I'm talking about. Now this is the rear camera. What I'll do is quickly show you the front camera recording as well. So on the front also we have the 4K 60 FPS video recording support, and I really like the quality of the front camera. Also again, the audio is coming from the microphone, so this will give you a better idea about that as well. Also there's a cinematic mode, so let's go and check that out. Just to give you an idea about the bokeh shift in the cinematic video, what I'm going to do is I have this little cup over here. I'll place it right in front of my face and you can see the focus very swiftly moving, and again it's back on my face. Let's try it again with this one, and you can see the focus is moving very swiftly, even though I feel that this whole cinematic mode is still gives you sort of an artificial effect. Now coming to the still photography, the main camera is truly the star of the show and it takes some excellent images. It performs exceptionally well in various light conditions, producing detailed and accurate photos with natural colors. The facial tones stay true to nature and the HDR effect is also well maintained, unlike some Android phones that try to overexpose shadows to make the scene look brighter. The phone offers a 2x optical zoom, although it's more like digital zoom. It makes you feel like you have a 3-camera setup to play with. Also, the photo quality even at 2x zoom and beyond is pretty good. Portrait photography has seen noticeable improvement with sharp, well-defined portrait images and accurate edge detection. Even in low light, the photos are crisp with minimal noise or gain. The front camera also captures good skin tones. So overall, even in terms of camera performance, I believe that the iPhone 15 Plus is a huge improvement over the iPhone 14 and 14 Plus. Also, when I think of it, there are not too many real competitions or threats for this phone out there in the market. Probably the Samsung Galaxy S23 Plus is the only direct rival this phone has, at least for the next few days. Still, the Pixel 8 and 8 Pro launch, because those two are expected to be great shooters, and that's when I think this phone will face some heat. Now, while the core design remains the same, there are some noticeable changes here as well. On the front, we have the dynamic island, and the traditional lightning port has been replaced with the Type-C port. I'll talk about their functionality later in the review. On the back, the iPhone 15 Plus now features a matte finish instead of the glossy one on the iPhone 14 series, and it really gives you a good in-hand feel. The sides of the phone have been slightly curved, making it more comfortable to hold than the iPhone 14 Plus. However, it's still a bit slippery, so I would advise you to use a case on the phone. The phone weighs 201 grams, but it doesn't feel that heavy in your hand. The weight distribution is well balanced as always. It's also IP68 rated, and the new colors are quite appealing, even though a lot of people are finding them very muted. Now, it's also important to note that this phone is quite large and probably not for single hand use. So if anybody who's bothered about the phone sizes, well, maybe this is something that you should know. Now, in terms of display, there is some good news, some not so good news. The dynamic island added on the front gives this phone a pro-like look and feel, and it's more useful than last year, showing charging status, airdrop status, and even music playback. And it slowly grows on you. Last year I didn't find it that useful, but now I totally dig into it. Apart from this, the display is more or less the same as the iPhone 14 Plus with a 6.7-inch XDR OLED panel, and sadly, it still has a 60 Hz refresh rate. Now, I thought that this would be the year when Apple equips the iPhone 15 and 15 Plus with 120 Hz displays, but maybe better luck next year. Otherwise, the display is excellent. It's brighter than before, at par with last year's Pro models with peak brightness of 2000 nits. The fact that it is large and sharp makes content consumption enjoyable. Colors look fantastic, and it maintains natural colors and details even in HDR content. The speakers complete an overall great multimedia experience. Listen for yourself.
It has ऑलमोस्ट अमास्ड कितना 508 करोड़ इंडिया में। तो बाहुबली 2 हिंदी का रिकॉर्ड टूट चुका है। गदर 2 को अप्रोच कर रहे हैं, पठान को भी होपफुली ब्रेक कर देंगे। जवान will be the biggest.
So as you can hear, the speakers are quite rich and the stereo effect is very, very prominent. If anyone had any doubt about the battery backup on this phone, well, let me tell you, it's very solid. I mean, battery just doesn't drain. I used this to watch a YouTube video for about 2 hours at almost full brightness. It only consumed about 6 to 7% of battery, while 1 hour of gaming only took about 8% of battery. And on normal usage, mid usage, which will involve like a lot of emailing, texting, watching videos, clicking pictures, I think this would easily last for 30 to 32 hours. The only problem is the slow charging. Now, Apple might have equipped the phone with a Type-C port. This still charges at about 20 to 22 watt. So which means from 0 to 100%, it takes about more than 2 hours. And even to go from 0 to 40%, it took me about half an hour. So Apple, if you are listening, please bring fast charging to iPhones now. In conclusion, the iPhone 15 Plus is an excellent smartphone. It offers a lot of pro-like features. For example, the great performance, the camera setup, the premiumness, and the battery backup as well. Yes, it does miss out on a few things like the 120Hz refresh rate, Pro RAW photos, always on display, or even the action button. But I think most users would not mind that. And you have to factor in that this is still rupees 35,000 cheaper than the iPhone 15 Pro. So that means you're getting a lot of value with this phone with a similar level of performance as the Pro models. So what I will say is that if, and that's a big if you can manage with a big size and you can live without 120Hz refresh rate, then this is the iPhone to buy this year for you. And that is exactly my reason to rate this 8 out of 10. Now, if you like this video, stay tuned to Fiber. Do subscribe to our channel because we keep making these fun, interesting videos for you all. So show some love, keep supporting us. Now, if you like my review of the iPhone 15 Plus, then what you need to do is head to Fiber, Fiber. This is our YouTube channel. It's by India Today, where we make a lot of fun, engaging, entertaining video content around technology, smartphones, gadgets. I'm sure you'll love it.